Welcome back to Wimborne Road, and it's also a very warm welcome back to the brand new Elite League champions as the Top Flight Pirates return to their home and take on the Knockout Cup Challenge. Well, it has been a remarkable season this year, and it isn't over yet, as the very team that chased the Pirates all the way down to the finish of the Elite League are back in town tonight, and the Pirates face up to them in this first leg of the Knockout Cup final. Well, tonight, of course, it's all about Knockout Cup action. COVENTRY Bees, you know all about them, they know all about us. How is it going to be different tonight, though? Because, of course, this isn't really just a straightforward rerun of the Elite League.
No, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Everyone starts on a level par, and I think, like I say, it is the end of the season. I think it's hard for a lot of riders to get motivated, but certainly I think everyone seems motivated enough to go out and do it. It's going to be difficult. I think they're riding rider replacement for Billy this time, so it's going to be hard all night tonight, so hopefully we get in there early and get the right result here to go to Coventry.
Yeah, sure, he's sure right about that. It's important that we try to get a few points under our belt going up to Coventry. Also, we always been doing really well up at Coventry this year, but it's always nice if we could have a bit of a cushion going there.
Absolutely. Now, of course, we're coming back in high spirits after winning the Elite League, but it's very different tonight. The team looks a bit different, and Colin Pratt, as usual, has pulled out one or two tricks.
Yeah, he sure do. He's very good with his tactics and stuff, and we just have to try to be better than they are.
Absolutely. And are you still celebrating after that Elite League title, or is it starting to go into the background now?
Well, obviously, we're all really proud and happy about that we could win it. That was great. But now it is a new meeting tonight, and you just got to try to focus on that.
Absolutely, everyone as it comes.
That's it.
I feel as though the pressure's off us a little bit. We obviously, our main focus was the league, and we've got that one out of the way, and I think tonight everyone can really enjoy themselves a little bit more. Obviously, we still want to win the Knockout Cup, and we got the team to win the Knockout Cup, so I think everyone will be a little bit more relaxed and hopefully ride a little bit more fluent maybe. Everyone was pretty tense, especially coming to Poole. Everyone was very nervous, so we'll see what happens.
It has to be said, we had the advantage, if you like, of the first leg at Brandon. This time it's the other way around. Is it harder to try and make that cushion at this stage and go to Brandon with perhaps a little lead?
We're obviously looking, we'd like to walk away with a 6 to 10 point lead, I think. Then you're in a little bit of a safety zone. Now, we race very good at Coventry, so I think it's going to be two pretty exciting matches. Obviously they're going to be a lot stronger. They've had a practice, and they're going to want to make amends for the league. So we'll just see what happens. But as I say, we've got a side to win the Knockout Cup, and hopefully we can do it.
Well, Neil Middleditch, I've got to say the atmosphere in here seems quite relaxed, and although we're facing up to a final here, the boys certainly in a relaxed mood. Is that going to help things?
Yeah, I think so. I noticed that tonight as well. I think everybody seems a bit more relaxed because, as I say, I think with the Elite League you've worked all season to get it, and although the Knockout Cup is run over the season, it's only a few meetings. So hopefully it'll work for us.
What sort of plan have you got in place? Obviously the boys are hoping to take a lead with them to Brandon.
That's right, yeah. The track looks great tonight. Rained off last night, and the Almighty's done a great job on the track, so that's really good. And I think we just really got to try and get in them straight away and let them try and catch us, and then hopefully if we get, if 10-point lead I'll be happy with.
Is that a worry that if you get ahead the tacticals will come in?
Yeah, obviously that's going to be the case, but as I say, it's they've got rider replacement. They've pulled a shrewd move by using rider replacement at number 2 for Billy Hamill, so obviously that gives them heat 8, which theoretically is meant to be one of the easiest heats, so they can put a big gun in there and try and get a heat advantage there. That's their plan.
Well, over here on the Bees side of the pits, the absence or the continuing absence of Billy Hamill is still a headache. But crafty team manager Colin Pratt has more than a trick or two up his sleeve. And as we've already heard, he's planning to run rider replacement for Billy Hamill. But the interesting thing is that he's naming Billy Hamill at number 2. Now that obviously means that he can put heat leaders in together. And certainly Andreas JONSSON and Leigh Richardson could get more than a few extra rides this evening. Obviously, people are saying that tonight's a bit of a replay almost of the Elite League playoff. You must have been very disappointed, though, to go down. It was a close thing in the end.
Yeah, it was, but maybe can get a revenge today. You never know. The score for tonight is anyway to get as close as we can, and then try to do it Saturday at home. Because obviously Poole is a hard team to beat at home, and I don't think any team's been doing it this year. I think we did it earlier this season. But not with a full team, so we'll see. It's going to be a hard one tonight, but just get as many points as we can and then try to do it on Saturday.
Okay, Okay, now last time unfortunately Leigh was a little bit off colour. Things sorted out for him now?
I hope so, you know, it looks good, and it was just some engine failures he had the last time, and I think it was his valve springs he was struggling a bit with, but should be sorted now, and he should get a bit more points than last time, I hope.
Okay, well hopefully it might be a big payday for you.
Hope so.
Well, we've been talking about him all night, and we've managed to track him down at last. Colin, we talked about the tactics tonight. Obviously Billy Hamill not available, but naming him at number 2 could be a bit of a secret weapon for you.
I don't know, it's been hard to get guests and that, like, right, as you know, I tried to get Michael Max for 2 meetings, and of course he was in Sweden for his big presentation with his club and that, and sponsors and everything, so I couldn't get him for last night, and we decided, the rest of the 6 of the team, we had a talk, and we felt like this is the way we go, and really it confirmed it all, like after what Johnson and Richardson and Janniro did Saturday in the Elite League Riders Championship. I was quite confident we'd give this a go, like, you know.
Absolutely.
And I felt it's a good way to do it.
It's a different night tonight, of course, as you come back here. It must be a bit of a feeling of deja vu, but I'm sure you've got very different plans for this evening. And of course, it's the other way around. This is the first leg away from home, and you've got the luxury of a second leg back at Brandon.
Yes, it's good. Some say it's better to do your first leg away from home, like, you know. I've never bothered which way it is, because I reckon if you're going to win, you're going to win, like. But again, like, you know, get this cold one out of the way, like, and get back up to the warm Midlands.
Okay, well, good luck tonight, and let's hope we're going to see a classic Speedway meeting.
Cheers.
Maybe 2.
Cheers, thanks.
So thanks there for all the interviews pre-meeting here at Wimborne Road, Pool, and we're coming up to racing action ahead of the opening race here for the Knockout Cup final first leg. A good match in prospect tonight here at Wimborne Road, Paul, for the first leg of the Knockout Cup final. Of course, both teams in direct opposition again after the fantastic Elite League playoff finals of a couple of weeks ago, and the Victor Chandler COVENTRY Bees will be hopeful that they can put together a better performance here at Poole this evening than they did 2 weeks ago. A few technical problems here at Wimborne Road tonight ahead of the opening race. It precludes us from bringing you our regular commentator Graham Sutton for the opening race tonight, but Peter Ballinger from Coventry Motor Speedway standing in for tonight's opening race. So first on track tonight here at Wimborne Road for the opening race will be Victor Chandler Bees, Leigh Richardson. Richardson lining up in the number 1 race jacket tonight with the continued absence of Billy Hamill. Hamill still sidelined with that broken collarbone, and Bees team manager, as we've heard, Colin Pratt, pulling the tactical switches tonight, moving the team around, moving Billy Hamill to the number 2 position, so Bees will operate rider replacement for him. So the opening race coming up tonight, and Bees winning the toss, taking the inside gates 1 and 3. Leigh Richardson's going to line up on the inside. It's for the Meridian List POOLE Pirates in red off gate number 2, Leigh ADAMS. In gate number 3, the rider replacement rider in this opening race will be Jason Bunyan. And off gate number 4, in blue, will be Bjarne PEDERSEN. So from inside to out, it's Richardson, Adams, Bunyan and PEDERSEN. That's the lineup for the opening race here at Wimborne Road tonight. Referee Phil Green, finger on the switch, the green light comes on straight away. And up fly the tapes, away they go, and it's a good start from the inside from Leigh Richardson. And Richardson leads into that all-important first quarter from Leigh ADAMS. The POOLE Pirates packing the places at the moment with Jason Bunyan already tailed off. As they hit that top corner for the first time, Richardson already clear, but Leigh ADAMS on the fast outside line. Can Leigh ADAMS get to Leigh Richardson? Gun and Leigh ADAMS will try to work right around the outside of Leigh Richardson in this opening race. As they tear down that back straight for the second time, still Richardson with the 5 metre advantage over Adams. Bjarne PEDERSEN safe in third with Bunyan already tailed off at the back, 2 laps gone. Still the style of the Elite League Riders Champion for 2003, Leigh Richardson. And it's Richardson that leads down that back straight once again, with Adams not too far behind, but Adams is going to have to do something special here in the opening race if he's going to get to Leigh Richardson, as they take the flag with a lap to go. Still Leigh Richardson leading from Leigh ADAMS. Bjarne PEDERSEN still in third, and Bunyan's way tailed off at the back. Down that back straight then for the 4th and final time. Leigh Richardson's going to be the opening race winner here at Wimborne Road tonight for the Victor Chandler Bees, as Leigh Richardson comes across the line to take race victory. Leigh Richardson wins heat number 1, Leigh ADAMS comes in second, and Bjarne PEDERSEN third, and possibly the best the Victor Chandler Bees could have hoped for there in that opening race. Richardson made the inside gate count and he was away, and he took a convincing victory there in the opening race tonight. So Leigh Richardson your winner, Leigh ADAMS second, and Bjarne PEDERSEN third. A 3 apiece in the opening race here at Wimborne Road tonight, and these will be looking to civilize later on in the meeting from Leigh Richardson. So swiftly on to heat number 2, the reserves race coming up at Wimborne Road, and I'm very pleased to be able to tell you now that we've been able to overcome our technical problems of the opening race, and we can now join our regular Pirates videos commentator tonight, Graham Sutton.
we go into race number 2. And for the Pirates in this one, in the red helmet, we've got Dryml riding from the inside start. His partner is guest reserve Gary Stead. And for Coventry, Jason Bunyan and Ryan Fisher as they head into the first bend with Dryml in the lead. Ryan Fisher takes the outside line and comes through to take over the lead from Alice. And at this stage in the proceedings, with Gary Stead trying to go around the outside, successfully around the outside of Jason Bunyan. We're back to another drawn race, 3 to each side. Superb pass by guest rider Gary Stead there. He's in for the unfortunate Davey Watt, who had that horrific spill on the start-finish straight here just 7 days ago. He's out of action for the remainder of the season. A great shame that. Davey Watt just in fine form, but at this stage of heat number 2, it's going to be all square still, as Ryan Fisher looks to be somewhat ahead of the sort of form he showed here when Coventry visited in the English League Elite League playoffs. And as they come around to take the checkered flag, it's the young American who, in the yellow helmet, takes first place ahead of Dryml, and third for the Pirates. Good third that was indeed for Gary Stead. Fourth was Jason Bunyan, and it's 6 to each side. So it's deadlock, 6 to each side. On to race number 3. Poole have their guest in for Dryml. That's Mark Loram. Good to see him back on his old stamping ground with Antonio Lindback in the blue helmet on grid 2. Billy Janniro and Stuart Robson, the pairing for Coventry. Somewhat reshuffled lineup, because Coventry, of course, using the rider replacement for Billy Hamill, and they've reshuffled their lineup to get maximum advantage. If there's an advantage to be gained by that, then Colin Pratt's surely the man to do it. And I'm sure as the match unfolds, we'll see exactly what his game plan is. Of course, he'll be happy all the time they can keep the scores level, because the return is on Saturday next at Brandon. As the tapes go up for heat 3 then, and it is indeed Billy Janniro riding in the green helmet, and as a heat leader who is straight out the tapes and away, with Mark Loram chasing him. Antonio Lindback having a little bit of trouble on Pitt's corner once again. It's not the first time he's had trouble there. He's back in third behind Mark Loram, and bring up the rear in fourth is Stuart Robson. So let's see if Mark can use all his prowess at passing on the pool track to gain on Billy Janniro. He's certainly right up behind him, but Janniro is a tough, uncompromising cookie, and he's certainly screwing on the throttle around with a lap to go on turn 4, and he comes past the grandstand, and Mark, I don't think, is going to make much of an impression, because if anything, Billy was riding the very line that Mark would have preferred to have taken, well out 3/4 off the inside line, and that's the way it is then. So it's still yet to divide the two teams. The third race, the third drawn heat. So the scoreline after 3 heats is Poole 9 points, Coventry 9. Well, here we are for heat 4, and Pirates haven't actually provided a heat winner yet. So will the deadlock be broken, and will Pirates provide a heat winner? They have got skipper Tony Rickardsson in this one, but he's off the difficult gate 4, and he's against none other than the top man currently on form at Coventry, Andreas JONSSON, and the winner first time out in Ryan Fisher. So Tony Rickardsson, work to do off gate 4. He's partner in this one is Gary Stead, with a promising third to his credit, the first one. So it's all set up for an intriguing race here, and I guess that Neil Middleditch, looking at this one, will say, well, anything more than a drawn race out of this would perhaps be a bit of a bonus. So in the early stages then, it's deadlocked as we await the release of the tapes for race 4. And up they go, and Tony Rickardsson sharp from the outside, and it looks as if he's going to do one of his famous first bend lines. He does indeed, and in fact it's Gary Stead that's tucked in second place at the moment. In fact, he's through into second place. He caught Ryan Fisher completely unawares there, and Andreas JONSSON is still sorting himself out, and he's now up into third place. But Gary Stead riding the race of his life here, and indeed Andreas JONSSON taking a rather awkward tumble there. He's picking himself up, but when I predicted Neil Middleditch's thoughts on a potential 3-3, little did I have any idea that Poole would get a 5-1 in this one, particularly with Andreas JONSSON, but Andreas just got caught in some rather flaggy outside. We've had a day, 24 hours of pretty heavy rain here, but the track seems to be riding extremely well. Tony Rickardsson way out in front, as we've come accustomed to seeing him this season, and he takes a checkered flag there to the acclaim of the crowd. But more importantly, or equally importantly, Gary Stead through into second place, a wonderful 5-1 heat win, and that does break the deadlock and put the Pirates ahead by 14 points to 10. On to race number 5, and can the Pirates maintain or build on that 4-point advantage? They certainly will have to work hard this time, because Coventry bought their tactical replacement of Billy Hamill. The rider replacement will be Billy Janniro, a winner last time out. His partner Lee Richardson in the green helmet on grid 4. Also a winner last time out. For Poole, it's the pairing of Mark Loram and Antonio Lindback. So crucially, I think this one is going to be about well, as most races are, but particularly this one, I think, for Poole, will be whether they can hold on to the dash into the first bend. Mark Loram on grid 1. And let's see if he can hold off a challenge from Billy Janniro alongside him in the yellow helmet. And fortunately for Coventry, but fortunately for Poole, Lee Richardson has suffered engine failure on the line, and that gives the two Poole riders a share of the spoils. But Billy Janniro is way out in front, and I'm not sure that Mark Loram, who's already chased him for 4 laps in heat 3 unsuccessfully, and Billy Janniro seems to be absolutely flying tonight, and I don't know exactly what that problem was with Lee Richardson's bike. And indeed, now we've got disaster for Poole, because Antonio Lindback has had to pull up with bike trouble, and that was a gift 3-3, and we've had to relinquish that in favour of the Coventry Bees, who are now going to take a heat win by 3 points to 2. So just when it looked as if that 4-point margin would be maintained, fortunately it's going to be down to 3 this time. Billy Janniro really flying. Mark Loram not really making any impact. In fact, he seemed to get further and further behind the young American number 3 in today's Coventry lineup. So scoreline is now 16 to Poole, 13 to the Bees. And now a 3-point margin between the two teams, and the pre-match predictions were that this match would have a far closer scoreline than the Elite League playoffs, and that's the way it's turning out to be at the moment. And Pirates in this one with Leigh ADAMS and Bjarne PEDERSEN. They take to the track on grids 2 and 4. Leigh ADAMS on the wide outside, Bjarne on grid 2. We've got Andreas JONSSON, who had a nightmare first ride. He's on grid 1, and his partner in 3 on the yellow helmet is Jason Bunyan. And away they go, and this time Leigh ADAMS way out of the tapes and in front, with Leigh ADAMS challenging on the inside line going into turn 3, and once again in exactly the same spot as his previous tumble. We saw a fall there for Andreas JONSSON, but worse for Coventry was the fact that Jason Bunyan clipped him. Amazingly, the two Pirates missed him, but Jason Bunyan couldn't, and took a bit of a tumble, and so the two Coventry Bees in a heat there. Certainly we have to say that Andreas JONSSON is having an absolute nightmare of a meeting. He's normally their top scorer, but tonight he's fallen twice from 2 races, and he's fallen in exactly the same spot. He was being challenged by Leigh ADAMS, but nevertheless it was a fair pass, and I think Andreas just got himself into trouble, and a tumble was the result. So we're going to have a restart. I'm sure that Andreas JONSSON will be the cause of the stoppage, but whether Jason Bunyan is fit to take his place in the race just remains to be seen now. I think he's up, and it's a question of how long it's going to take him to get man and machinery in readiness for the restart. So we're still on heat 6. It's heat 6, the rerun. Jason Bunyan has had quite a considerable time allowance by the referee to prepare himself and his machine after that tumble. He just happened to catch the, I think, the machine of fallen teammate Andreas JONSSON, and it's doubtful whether Andreas would have been able to pick himself up, although he did on his previous fall. But nevertheless, here we are back at the tapes with the other 3 riders. So surely the Pirates with 2 Grand Prix riders, and Coventry with Jason Bunyan. Home side have a distinct 5-1 potential in this one, as Leigh ADAMS jumps from gate 4 and Bjarne PEDERSEN from gate 2. And I would say that barring any mishaps, and there have been a few on both sides this evening, but barring any mishaps, we could be on for a 5-5 result. Bjarne PEDERSEN favouring the inside line, Leigh ADAMS right around the outside and out in the dirt. Usually he is a rider that can use all of the, what am I saying about mishaps? Another engine failure, and equally costly this time. I don't know what's going on tonight. The gremlins are certainly striking, and what was a certain 5-1 for Poole has been turned into a 3-2 because Bjarne PEDERSEN, you see right in front of our commentary position, grinds to a hole and somewhat disconsolately pushes his bike back to the pits area, whilst teammate Leigh ADAMS takes the checkered flag. So what is going to happen next? I think probably up to that point the luck had favoured Poole and gone well against the Coventry Bees, with Andreas JONSSON falling twice. But now I think it's probably just about all square on the luck stakes, but it's only a 3-2 heat win to Poole when they might have expected the 5-1. So it makes the scoreline 19 to the Pirates and 15 to the Bees. Here we go then with Heat 7. Pirates just 4 points up after 6 races, and we have the skipper, Tony Rickardsson, in the red helmet from grid 1. His partner on 3 is Dryml. Are we likely to see a repeat of the famous 5-1 that they scored as part of one of the highlights of the league playoffs a couple of weeks ago here? I'm not so sure they will this time, because we've got Billy Janniro. He's so far unbeaten from his first 2 races, 2 wins. He's in the green helmet, and I'm sure that Tony will be looking to hold off his first bend challenge. And completing the lineup on grid 4 for the Bees, we have Stuart ROBSON. So it's all set for Heat 7, and away they go. And in fact, Billy Janniro has eclipsed Tony Rickardsson into the first corner, and it's Tony Rickardsson going to have to do it the hard way. He's got Dryml that tucked in 3rd for good measure, but Tony Rickardsson does not like being beaten by opposing riders, and he shows exactly what he does to them when that happens. And he was absolutely determined. I think they're really up for, there's a quiet start to this KO Cup final, first leg, but I think now the Pirates have got fired up. 1 or 2 little things have happened, and the mood in the pits, I understand from Nigel, is distinctly hotting up. 1 or 2 little things happening at the start, which the Pirates felt the referee should have done something about. A little bit of anticipation in 1 or 2 of the earlier heats. And certainly Tony was really fired up there, and he executed a wonderful pass on previously unbeaten Billy Janniro to take the checkered flag. And with Dryml filling in for 3rd place, it gives the Pirates another heat win. But they do now go 6 in front, which makes me think that it could be tax up for Heat 8. Probably the favourite race by away teams in the Elite League in terms of tax ups. And the scoreline 23-17. Let's see what happens with Colin Pratt's deliberations when we come on to Heat 8. And the maestro Colin Pratt decides on a double tactical substitute, with Leigh Richardson and Andreas JONSSON coming in the green and yellow helmets respectively. So he doesn't do things by half measures. The Pirates have got Bjarne PEDERSEN and Gary Stead. It's Heat 8. So no heat leaders on the Poole side, but 2 top potential scorers, although of course Andreas JONSSON yet to finish a race here this evening, and one of his early failures was a race which featured Gary Stead. It was the Tony Rickardsson Heat 4 race, when Gary certainly made himself firmly popular here at Poole, and let's see if he can do the same this time. He's on grid number 1. The odds must favour the Commentator Bees, as they head into the first bend, and indeed it is the Bees that are looking to take a 5-1. Lee Richardson and Andreas JONSSON looking to team ride here, which would wipe out the Pirates' slender 4-point lead. And we've got Gary Stead actually coming through into third place, and he is currently doing the chasing ahead of Bjarne PEDERSEN. So as we might have feared, and in fact Neil Middleditch in his pre-match comments also looked at Leahy as being a potential sticky patch for Poole. It's certainly proving to be. This is a match somewhat topsy-turvy, completely different, although we've got basically very similar sides, 1 or 2 minor changes just at reserve on the Poole side, but other than that it's much the same teams that rode here a fortnight ago, and yet we're having a very much closer encounter. The Bees take a 5-1, and it moves the scoreline along to the Pirate 24 and the Bees 22. So there is an advantage to the Pirates, but it's now down to 2 points. On to Heat 9 with 2 points between the teams. Colin Pratt still at it. He's made a reserve switch. Ryan Fisher comes in to take the place of scheduled rider Jason Bunyan. So it's the pairing of Andreas JONSSON and Ryan Fisher for the Bees. Poole have the pairing of Mark Loram and Antonio Lindback. Antonio seized an engine when comfortably placed in third behind his partner in his previous outing. So bit of a mixed evening for Antonio. He's on his number 2 bike, but that bike will have a baptism of fire here because he's on trap 1, and up go the tapes. And in fact it's Andreas JONSSON who goes around into the first bend ahead of Mark Loram. Lindback tucked in third, but Ryan Fisher's looking a bit lively, and he's certainly right on the tail of Antonio as they settle down into a potential drawn race. Mark Loram typically in second place. He failed to beat any of the Bees heat leaders here in the league playoffs while guesting for Poole a fortnight ago, and this is his third ride this evening, and he's still not beaten a Bees heat leader. So they must have the Indian sign over Mark, because with a lap to go he's trailing Andreas JONSSON. Andreas, who having had 2 rather unfortunate tumbles, is going to bounce straight back with 2 wins, or at least a win and a paid win behind his partner in the previous race. So his fortunes beginning to even themselves out, but the fortunes in that race were also even, because it was a 3-3, and it moves the scoreline along just 2 points between them, with Poole 27, and it's the Bees on 25. Well, I'm sure that Neil Middleditch and all the Pirates faithful here at a rather chilly Wimborne Road will be hoping they've got something to warm themselves up this time, maybe a heat win, because Pirates have got 1 and 3, and they've got Bjarne PEDERSEN on grid 1 and Leigh ADAMS on 3. For the Commentator Bees, Billy Janniro, who had a couple of heat wins, and then he was put in his place by skipper Tony Rickardsson, but he starts from grid 4. He's drawn a certain amount of consternation at the start with some potential flyers, which the referee has so far seen not to check, but it's all in the game, as they say. So I wonder whether he'll, having gated round from 2 on Tony Rickardsson earlier, I wonder if he'll repeat that feat on Leigh ADAMS this time, as the tapes go up. Bjarne PEDERSEN away, and he certainly has repeated that feat, but this time the referee has spotted it, and quite clearly he felt that that was an unsatisfactory start. From our position here we can't see what was going on, but I would say the way that Leigh ADAMS was left for dust, that it might have been Billy Janniro who was being pinpointed by the referee, and the way the crowd are reacting to him, I'm sure that's the case. So we're going to have a restart then, but little pause before we get all 4 back in line. So it's the restart then, all four back. Referee ruled nothing more than an unsatisfactory start. Let's hope we get a clean getaway this time as the tapes go up once again. And this time Leigh ADAMS does what we expect him to do in the first bend, and that's take the lead. But Janniro's there again, and he comes up the inside line on Bjarne PEDERSEN, and he comes through into second place, but Leigh ADAMS is out in front. Janniro in second, Bjarne PEDERSEN and Janniro fighting it out as Stuart ROBSON picks himself up from a tumble in what I was beginning to think was Andreas JONSSON corner down there by the snack bar on turn 3. But the race seems to have settled down, although Bjarne PEDERSEN still trying to get on terms with Janniro. It doesn't look as if he's going to do it, so a 4-2 with a lap to go, and Bjarne PEDERSEN is trying everything he knows to get on terms with the commentary rider, but with last bend here, it's Leigh ADAMS in front, Janniro second. We've got Bjarne PEDERSEN third and Stuart ROBSON tailed off at the back after that tumble. It's a 4-2 heat win to the Pirates, who now lead by 31 points to 27. So we're on to heat 11. It's just a 4-point lead to the Pirates, and we're fairly late in the proceedings, so if they're going to build up the sort of 10 or 12 point lead that I reckon they're going to need at Brandon to give them any sort of comfort zone, then now's the time to start. But Colin Pratt is probably not going to let them do it, because he's got the pairing this time of Leigh Richardson and rider replacement for Billy Hamel in Andreas JONSSON. They were 5-1 winners the last time they were paired up, but they've got slightly more difficult opposition this time in the shape of Tony Rickardsson for the Pirates, and his partner will be Dryml. The Bees do have the 1 and 3 gate positions, and Andreas JONSSON is indeed going off the inside in the yellow helmet. His partner Leigh Richardson's on grid 3. Sandwiched between them on 2, we've got Tony Rickardsson. So intriguing racing prospect here as we go into the interval. Pirates will be anxious to try and retain their 4-point margin, but it's going to mean that the skipper is going to have to pull something special out of the bag this time, because he's got the top 2 in the Coventry lineup out against him. Up go the tapes, and indeed Tony Rickardsson gets a great first bend there as Andreas JONSSON fails to hold his senior Swedish counterpart, and I think once Tony gets in front, it's going to be take some stopping, but Andreas JONSSON is right on his tail. Tony Rickardsson out in front, Andreas in second place, got Leigh Richardson third and Dryml fourth. It could well be that that 4-point margin will be retained going in interval, unless Andreas JONSSON reverts back to his earlier 2 races when he took a bit of a tumble. Which is if Dryml, although in quite close order to Leigh Richardson, is probably not going to make any impact with a lap to go on the commentary rider. So with Tony Rickardsson pulling further and further out in front in an attempt to inspire the rest of the Pirates towards KO Cup first leg victory here. He comes around to take the checkered flag. It's going to move the interval score on to the Pirates 34 points and the Bees 30. So cups of tea and other hot goodies consumed during the half-time interval, and we left the score at 34-30 after heat 11, and just the crucial 4 races to go, starting here in heat 12 with Loram and Gary Stead on grids 2 and 4, and they're out against Janniro and Jason Bunyan. Jason Bunyan being given a 4th ride by Colin Pratt, perhaps beginning to sort of run out of options, and away they go with Loram making his first good gate of the night, and he moves ahead of Janniro Janniro only momentarily, because Billy gets an absolute flyer down the back straight and comes through to take the lead over from Loram with Jason Bunyan. In fact, that looks more like Ryan Fisher to me in third place, so in fact they have made a reserve switch, and that news failed to convey itself to me, so as the programme rider Jason Bunyan replaced by the number 7 Ryan Fisher. So we have the two young Americans taking first and second. Mark Loram chasing hard with a lap to go on Billy Janniro, driving on the inside for a change, and Gary Stead right on the tail of Ryan Fisher. Look at these two going into the final bend, Billy Janniro and Mark Loram. But Billy Janniro is going to take it, but Mark really did try his very best there not to finish off with another 4 second places. Second best every time to the heat leader Spearheads of Coventry. So Mark not really back to the sort of form we knew here a few seasons ago at Wimborne Road. Nevertheless, a very sterling performance as a guest and consistent into the bargain. But unfortunately, the Pirates concede a 4-2, and that makes the scores level with 3 heats remaining. It's 36 to each team, 36 to the Pirates, 36 to the Bees, 3 heats remaining. Well, my math's not quite what it used to be, because Pirates 2 in fact still retain a slender advantage of just 2 points now after that 4-2 heat win to the Coventry Bees in Heat 12. In fact, the correct scoreline is 36 to Poole, 34 to the Coventry Bees. So, having rectified that little problem, we now look at the lineup for the big Heat 13 with Leigh ADAMS and Tony Rickardsson, top 2 for Poole. Ordinarily, say, potential 5-1 against any opposition. Well, they do have the 1 and 3 grids, but the opposition is tough. It doesn't get any tougher than Leigh Richardson and Andreas JONSSON. So intriguing racing prospect here with the match delicately poised. Of course, if the Pirates do get a 5-1, then opens the door to Colin Pratt to bounce back with the tax sub in Heat 14. I'm not sure that the Pirates will be trying any tactical manoeuvres of the sort they did up at Coventry, which rebounded very badly by this pairing. Leigh ADAMS took an engine failure while leading the race. Tony Rickardsson relinquished third place only to see that his partner out in front lost the race. So with that in mind, although ideally a 4-2 heat here would be a good prospect, I'm sure both the Pirates would just be going all out for points on what has now become quite a slick track. Most of the dirt has disappeared, but it is the Pirates out in front. Although the referee doesn't like the first bend, I'm not sure exactly what it was that he didn't like, but the rider in green there, Leigh Richardson, is not one who is averse to a little bit of anticipatory action at the start. Let's put it no stronger than that. It's certainly called up as an unsatisfactory start, and in fact the starter goes to Leigh Richardson, so I wasn't jumping the gun there when I made my comments. The starter's gone to Leigh Richardson, made some sort of, he's on the hotline of course to the referee, and he's made some little remark there, and certainly Leigh Richardson's gate across on Leigh ADAMS not adjudged to be fair, and I wonder if this time the two Pirates, with the benefit of a clean start, will be able to capitalise on the restart of this race. It's a crucial stage, of course. Just 3 races remaining here, but a whole match left at Coventry for the second leg. Coventry, a place where the Pirates have yet to lose this season. They won their Elite League A and B fixtures there, and of course had a slender 1-point win in the first leg of the playoff. I think since those matches, the Bees, if anything, have probably consolidated a little bit more and are looking perkier towards the end of the season. The Pirates, of course, with that devastating injury to their number 7, Davey Watt, will have to find points replacement for him in the second leg. But still on the first leg here, and once again they go into the first leg. Leigh ADAMS, Tony Rickardsson, and Leigh Richardson has jumped out of the tapes once again ahead of Leigh ADAMS. Tony Rickardsson came back up the inside to do the chasing, and Leigh Richardson's on the wide line. So intriguing race here. Leigh Richardson from Tony Rickardsson, Leigh ADAMS in third, and Andreas JONSSON right at the back. And I'm not sure that with 2 laps gone and 2 to go, that Leigh Richardson is going to be caught by Tony Rickardsson. He's really flying. Tony will try and ride his socks off. He's going back to the outside line with a lap to go, but Leigh Richardson's way out in front. That was an excellent gate from Grid 2, and not very often you see a visiting rider leading this pairing of Tony Rickardsson and Leigh ADAMS, but that's just exactly what Leigh Richardson has done this time to square the proceedings. It keeps just 2 points between them, so any dreams of a 5-1 were shattered by that great race from England international there, Leigh Richardson. So with 2 races remaining, it's 39 to the Pirates, 37 to the Coventry Bees. Penultimate race then of this first leg of the KO Cup final, 39-37, the Pirates in the lead, and we've got the pairing of Antonio Lindback and Alice Dryml against the Bees pair of Stuart Robson and Ryan Fisher. So intriguing race here. All riders who have had their moments this evening. Ryan Fisher in particular, he's the only rider to have won a race out of these. Stuart Robson's been strangely quiet. Antonio Lindback, of course, blew his #1 bike, so and Alice Dryml certainly not been on maximum form so far, but he got out of the gate this time in superb style on the first bend, and the referee stopping the race there as both Alice Dryml and the rider in green, Stuart Robson, tangle, and I've got a feeling that may be attributed to first bend bunching. I don't see a light on at this stage in the proceedings, and just difficult to see exactly what happened there. I think Alice Dryml probably did just catch a bit of a locker, and I think that Stuart Robson rode into him, but the announcer has conveyed the referee's decision that it's a rerun with all 4, and obviously that'll cause a few tongues to wag, but that's the way the referee sees it, and that's the way it's going to be. So they're coming back into line then for Heat 14, all 4 back on the tapes. Antonio Lindback and Alice Dryml for Poole in red and blue. Stuart Robson and Ryan Fisher for Coventry. Be hoping for a nice clean and tidy first bend this time. I'm sure the referee will. And of course the match pivoting at the moment with just 2 points between the teams. Pirates obviously looking towards Alice to once again make one of those jet starts from grid 2. Stuart Robson yet to beat a Pirate or beat anybody this evening with 3 wins. 3 ducks, I mean. So Stuart has had some pretty high spots earlier in the season, but he seems to have tailed off in the last month or 2. Let's see if he can make amends here in Heat 14 as he goes from grid 1. But Alice Dryml once again gets the jump on him, and he's out in the lead ahead of Ryan Fisher, but Ryan Fisher goes right around the outside of Alice, and certainly Ryan is enjoying the slick track conditions a lot more than some of the Pirates. Could be set to take his second win of the evening. Antonio Lindback trailing at the back. Stuart Robson's tucked in 3rd place, and this is going to make it all square with a race to go. We could even end up the evening square. But at this stage, we've got Ryan Fisher, Alice Dryml, and in 3rd place Stuart Robson, potentially about to take his first point of the evening. Antonio Lindback trailing right at the back, having a relatively disappointing evening. He had 2 3rd places and an engine failure from his earlier heats, and here he is with just over a lap to go. He's having a good old blast, but I'm afraid that there isn't an awful lot of dirt on there, and round the final bend it's a 4-2 to Coventry, squares it all up at 41 apiece, and my maths are right this time. The scores are level, 41 to each side with a single race remaining. So all down to Heat 15 as to whether the Pirates take anything at all to Brandon or not. So So the all-important nominated riders, and no real surprises. It's top scorers from each side. So it's Tony Rickardsson and Leigh ADAMS for Poole. Poole winning the toss and selecting 1 and 3. Tony Rickardsson this time is taking the inside in an attempt to hold off the gating prowess of Richardson. And Leigh ADAMS goes from grid 3, and it's Billy Janniro who gets the call over Andreas JONSSON. Andreas had a bit of an up and down night so far, with a couple of second places and a win, but 2 falls and a last place. So he finishes evening only on 7 points, whereas Billy Janniro is going to be top scorer. He's already amassed 13 points from his 5 completed races, plus whatever he gets here. So he's leading the Bees spearhead, and the reshuffled team certainly tactically seems to have worked, because the Pirates have been restricted to a nil advantage at this stage, and anything they can get from this race will be taken to Coventry, but it's going to be very much along similar lines to only roles reversed to what happened in the league playoff just a few weeks ago. So intriguing setup for Saturday's second leg, and the Pirates' hopes of finishing the League and Cup treble will depend on that match here. But here we go with race 15, and up go the tapes, and it's Tony Rickardsson into the first bend with Leigh ADAMS alongside him, and Richardson and Billy Janniro trailing at the back. And this is just what the Wimborne Road faithful wanted to see, a 4-point advantage. But of course Tony Rickardsson has got to do the hard work. He's covering the inside line, Leigh ADAMS on the outside. 4 points could easily be an advantage which Poole can do something with when they go to Brandon, but with 2 laps of this race remaining, it's the Pirates taking a 5-1 lead. They're going to win this match here at the Wimborne Road Stadium by a 4-point margin, because it doesn't look as if the Bees now are going to get anywhere near the 2 top Pirates. It's Leigh ADAMS from Tony Rickardsson. Just look at the lead they've now got over the 2 Coventry riders, Billy Janniro and Richardson, trailing in their wake as Leigh ADAMS comes around the final bend with the skipper Tony Rickardsson. The crowd's on its feet. They like that one. It's 5-1 heat win to the Pirates, who end up victorious by 46 points to 42 in this KO Cup first leg final fixture.